I'll give the general answer, and then
Yeah.
Balaji has some
Yeah, sure.
specific ideas. So the general answer is we think there's a whole ecosystem here. And I mean, we think the ecosystem's already forming. I mean, in a lot of ways, we view ourselves as reacting, which is basically we're now seeing hundreds of high-quality entrepreneurs and high-quality technologists, kind of people you'd consider to be top-tier people in any field who are working on all kinds of ideas. And, sort of ideas spread the full gamut of everything you can imagine. And so we do think of it as an ecosystem. Again, I'll go back to the internet analogy. In 1994, as a venture capital firm, it would have been a good idea to take the internet seriously, and it would have been a good idea to invest in a cross-section of internet infrastructure companies, internet application companies, internet content companies. You could have made a whole series of bets. The venture firms that did do that did, extremely well. And so our goal here is to do that, basically basically build a portfolio of diversified bets in all the different areas of the ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think, so on certain things we're looking at specifically, one of the things we've thought a lot about is that Bitcoin is like an inverted pyramid right now. There's a lot of news coverage nowadays, right? And there's an increasing number of companies and investors. There's relatively few people who are working on the core protocol and, that kind of activity, right? Like, not that many developers who are actually working on github.com/Bitcoin/Bitcoin. And so there's two kinds of vehicles that we're looking for in particular to fix that. People in the audience might be interested in doing things like this. So one is like a Red Hat for Bitcoin, right? So Red Hat was a seminal company in the early days of the internet, founded in 1993. They professionalized Linux development, creating user-friendly Linux distributions as well as later Red Hat Enterprise Linux and enterprise-friendly distributions. So a vehicle like that, a Red Hat for Bitcoin, I think would be a very interesting thing to fund and to look at, something that had a critical mass of core developers. And while in theory, a consulting company may not make that much money, in practice, Red Hat has made it's $11 billion market cap. And I think there's very few things that are going to grow like Bitcoin consulting over the next 3 to 5 years. Everybody's going to need a wallet on their website to accept payments. It's going to be something where millions of websites are going to be retrofitted to accept this. You're going to get it into the Internet of Things. You're going to get it all over the place. So Bitcoin consulting is a growth area. Moreover, there's all kinds of new ways to monetize 20 years later. On the internet, you could have a Red Hat for Bitcoin that, say, had ads or affiliate codes on the download site for the Bitcoin wallets. You could do things like Teespring to monetize. There are many different ways to monetize it, and Bitcoin itself gives ways to monetize new monetization models for open source. And the second kind of company that we'd like to fund, in addition to Red Hat for Bitcoin, is like an Underwriters Laboratories for Bitcoin. So Underwriters Laboratories does kind of electronic certification, like safety testing and so on. So development of something along the lines of PCI compliance standards for Bitcoin, as well as the inspections to kind of check that security and stuff like that is well done on these kinds of sites. I think it's going to be a very important company that's going to come out there. And the thing about that is we've already had that sort of organically happening, part of that. Like recently Coinbase and Blockchain did a home and home where each of them went and looked at each other's security and then published the results and so on. And I think an organization like that sets up, that productizes it, is going to be pretty important. So those are two things in particular that we're thinking about.